Good evening and welcome to News Review. This week, Gibraltar suffered one of the most sustained episodes of delays at the border since the Pepe took office in 2011. Car-by-car checks at the frontier were carried out up until midnight Wednesday, and Thursday morning saw 6 lanes of traffic. The Chief Minister described Spain's behaviour as irrational and predicted that the imminent frontier works on the Spanish side would be used as an excuse to cause further disruption. The Foreign Office said it would be lobbying the European Commission to put pressure on Spain to establish normality at the border.
Just as you thought it couldn't get any worse, Gibraltar's security and emergency services braced themselves for gridlock. Over the last year, we've seen 7-hour vehicle tailbacks, 3-hour pedestrian queues, document checks, car searches, intimidation by special forces and media campaigns. Now a new development. The most sustained, ongoing period of delays at the border since the whole thing began. For nearly 24 hours, a continuous spate of checks by the Guardia Civil officers. The checks are cursory, a very quick opening of the boots and down again, off you go. But it's every car that's being checked, and that's what causes the build-up of traffic and the tailbacks all the way down Winston Churchill Avenue and Devil's Tower Road. The red lanes aren't being used, at least not as a matter of course. And we've also heard that further on, once you get into Spain, further on down the highway, there are roadblocks being set up by the Policía Nacional and the Guardia Civil, and cars are being stopped randomly and being checked as well. The authorities are by now well drilled in setting up traffic diversions and controlling traffic flow. But even for them, there's a limit as to what can be done. As tailbacks stretched back to beyond Devil's Tower Road, the impact was felt all the way down Winston Churchill Avenue and the town area.
It's only natural that any person in a vehicle for such a long time is going to be upset and wants someone to blame. But we're there obviously to calm situations down, ensure them that we're trying our best, where possible, hand out water. We had an example yesterday that an officer found a chair for someone. It was a pregnant young lady down Devil's Tower Road, and she sat in the shade in a chair, and obviously we helped her with her vehicle and everything. So we will do our utmost to help anyone in the queue and the remainder of the public in Gibraltar to ensure that they can get to their final destination as quick as possible. But people need to understand and appreciate that Gibraltar doesn't have infinite roads.
Motorists stuck in the queue knuckled down for a tough morning. Many found their own ways of whiling away the hours. But even though tempers remained in check, for many it was just a little too much.
We came early in the morning, we got in the loop, and we've been in the loop for 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Very slow, not moving at all. Yeah, I've moved from the bottom of the roundabout to here, but nobody's telling you what's happening.
Very slow, very slow. Actually, we started around 9 o'clock opposite the Roski, and we are still here in the queue 2 hours later. Yeah.
Hasn't moved. Last 10 minutes, 5 cars.
We left our house at 2 o'clock to take my daughter back. She's on holiday here in Spain, and we've been in this now for 2.5 hours, and now she's starting to get a bit irritable, and it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Rajoy, eh? What a man.
Many have struggled to find the motivation for this latest spate of queues at the border. There's been no official explanation, but the queues coincide with the arrival of American nuclear submarine USS Annapolis. Spain will claim it's related to its campaign to clamp down on illegal tobacco, but local observers won't be even slightly moved by the suggestion. The Chief Minister has described Spain's behaviour as entirely irrational, and fears that things will get worse when the frontier works on the Spanish side start in September.
Nobody has dropped any concrete block to create a reef this year. Nobody has compared the Foreign Minister of Spain to anything to do with North Korea. But of course, interestingly, people who sometimes try and excuse Spain's behaviour on the basis of things that Gibraltar may have done need to go back to the drawing board and see that on many occasions, most occasions, Spain creates frontier queues for no reason that is clearly discernible by Gibraltar. the disruption that's going to come now with the frontier works is going to be absolutely awful. In my view, the works are going to be designed by Spain to be as awful as possible, to take as long as possible, and to be as disruptive as possible, to provide a new excuse for frontier queues that even the European Commission might find it difficult to say is somehow being caused by Spain specifically. So this is what we have to look forward to.
For its part, the Foreign Office says it's been monitoring the border queues closely, and it's concerned that the delays are not only disruptive, but potentially dangerous to children, the sick and the elderly. It says it will be lodging a formal protest to the Spanish government and believes the Spanish action is unacceptable, particularly when the European Commission has only recently declared the border queues disproportionate. The FCO says it will be lobbying the Commission to put more pressure on Spain.
Meanwhile, considerable diversions are expected to be needed to prevent disruption of traffic flow around the frontier over the next 6 months. Works are to begin soon on the Spanish side of the border, with the stated aim of facilitating frontier flow, in keeping with the recommendations of the EU Commission.
GBC filmed members of the Royal Gibraltar Police, HM Customs and Air Terminal Management on site ahead of the planned works. Following GBC questions, the government has issued a statement on how these works will affect Gibraltar. Number 6 says it was notified of the start of works by the Spanish Customs Administrator at the border, but that there's been no meaningful consultation yet. The government says considerable diversions will be necessary for all vehicular and pedestrian traffic into and out of Gibraltar. The Technical Services Department will work with Customs and the RGP to ensure the necessary diversions are in place by the 8th of September, when works are scheduled to start. They're expected to last till the end of March next year. The government says it'll publish further information as it becomes available, with the RGP to clarify traffic flow arrangements as soon as possible. Number 6 also says it'll ensure the EU Commission remains fully informed about the situation at the frontier, including any delays.
Former MEP Sir Graham Watson this week recommended to his successors that they continue to pursue the publication of the European Commission's letters to Spain, which currently remain secret. Sir Graham managed to gain access to the first letter sent last December and subsequently published it, and believes that the matter should be pursued through the European Parliamentary Ombudsman if the requests are refused.
Sir Graham Watson is no longer one of Gibraltar's MEPs, but he still keeps abreast of Gibraltar-related issues in Europe and is planning to be here for this year's National Day celebrations. Last December, whilst still an MEP, Sir Graham was successful in obtaining the Commission's letter to Spain on recommendations for border queues and published it.
Well, I went to the European Commission and I said that I believed that since this was a matter of public policy, members of the European Parliament and others should have access to this document. In the end, what I did was to put down a formal Freedom of Information request, and I got the letter published.
However, he was unsuccessful in getting hold of a second letter, which was apparently written to Spain, the contents of which remain secret. He would have liked to have challenged the European Parliament's decision to keep that letter confidential by taking it up with the Parliamentary Ombudsman. But then the European elections came round and Sir Graham lost his seat. This is a step he's recommending Gibraltar's MEPs to pursue now.
Well, I was surprised because this appeared to be a change of policy. It may well be that the European Commission were not happy that when the first letter was released to me, I made it public because I considered it to be in the public interest, a perfectly legitimate piece of openness in government. But somehow they didn't want to release a second letter, and I was assured privately by one or two officials that there was nothing in it of any substance. Well, if that were the case, why weren't they prepared to release it? I think what has to be done is that Gibraltar's MEPs have to keep up the pressure on this, and if necessary, go to the European Union's Ombudsman and actually insist that she take up the case. I hope that I can still be helpful to Gibraltar in keeping up pressure on all of the various people concerned to make sure that Gibraltar people know what government at European level is doing in their name and on matters which affect them.
The former MEP is now taking a short break from frontline politics, but will be looking at his options after the summer. One of them could be as a representative for Gibraltar in Brussels, but he says there's no formal request yet.
Well, I'm taking a holiday at present, and I've decided that I won't make any decisions about what I'm going to do until the end of August when I get back. I hope to be still active in some way in public life. I've certainly received no formal proposal of this nature, but I, of course, would be pleased to continue to be active on Gibraltar issues. I think that the people of Gibraltar suffer injustices as a result of a dispute between two member states, and the quicker we can resolve those, the better.
The government of Gibraltar filed a complaint against an OLAF advisor for having broken confidentiality over details of its recent report on tobacco smuggling. The complaint was against Joaquin González Herrero, who last week gave an interview to a Spanish news agency. The government argues that his interview was prejudicial for Gibraltar, and they feel this is a breach of OLAF's code and the EU's own codes. Jonathan Sacramento asked the Chief Minister about the latest development.
Well, the position of the government is that there are rules that govern officials who are employees of OLAF, and there are rules that govern all employees of the European Union as to what sort of public statements they can make. And we've been very surprised, frankly shocked, to see the way that this particular gentleman has approached his responsibilities as a member of OLAF in relation to a report which is, it's called the final report, but which is really an investigatory report which now has been sent to the United Kingdom, Gibraltar and to Spain for the authorities to continue the investigations and, if necessary, commence prosecutions. This is not a political report. I've read the report, it's been provided to me, and what the report actually says is that there are organized criminal gangs operating in Spain in tobacco smuggling, and that there is money laundering in Spain. And the report then says, and this may also be having an effect in Gibraltar, which is the source of some of this tobacco, and where the banking system may be seeing some of this money flow through. That's all it says. It's a sentence about Spain, which reflects on Gibraltar. It's been played out completely in a different way in Spain, in a manner designed to be prejudicial to Gibraltar, defamatory of Gibraltar, in my view, and of the good name of the people of Gibraltar. And what this individual has done, taking his position as an official of OLAF, is to raise all of these spectres of issues from the report, presented as the Spanish government has wanted to present them, not objectively, and used his position to give credibility to that in a way that is, in our view, contrary to the rules that govern his employment by OLAF and generally his position as a European Union civil servant.